Presenting the PR Maven podcast, hosted by Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven, targeted at business leaders who want to merge the best techniques of traditional networking with the best new platforms and technologies to engage your target audience, build your network, and grow your brand and business. The podcast is sponsored by Marshall Communications, Maine-based, globally connected. As we get ready for another great episode, remember, you can always connect with Nancy and other listeners on the PR Maven Nation group page on Facebook. Now, here's your host, Nancy Marshall.
Hello, PR Maven Nation. Welcome to the PR Maven podcast, episode 38, presented by Marshall Communications, creator of the Marshall Plan's 65-step strategic process. For those of you who are new to the show, I'm your host, Nancy Marshall, the PR Maven and CEO of Marshall Communications. I want to welcome you. And if you've been a loyal listener all along, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. The podcast provides a unique perspective on the world of public relations and personal branding, including what I hope will be actionable takeaways. I want to emphasize the importance of enhancing traditional relationship building with today's new technology, and I believe you need a combination of both of them. You know, in the olden days, before the internet, we relied on face-to-face communication and sometimes the telephone to make connections. And now we have all these new tools, and I think you need both. Although I do sometimes think that if Alexander Graham Bell now invented the telephone and we said, hey, there's this new thing, and you can actually call somebody and talk to them in real time, back and forth, we'd be like, wow, that's amazing. In any case, today's guest is Lisa Steele, founder of Fresh Eggs Daily. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's nice to be here, and we're here at NESCOM, the New England School of Communications at Husson University in Bangor, Maine. And Husson and NESCOM have been nice to allow us to record several podcasts here today, and I spoke to a class earlier, and it's been just such a pleasure. So Lisa Steele, and it's a pleasure to meet Lisa, but she's a fifth-generation chicken keeper and Maine master gardener, a lifelong New Englander except for a short stint working on Wall Street and then bouncing around a bit with her Navy husband. She's the founder of Fresh Eggs Daily, www.fresheggsdaily.com, the popular natural chicken keeping site, and author of several top-selling books. From her small farm in Maine, where she now lives with her retired naval officer husband, 2 dogs, and an indoor-outdoor barn cat, she raises a mixed flock of chickens and ducks. Sharing her advice inspires her readers with her all-natural, easy, fun, and accessible approach to raising a backyard flock naturally without using chemicals, integrating gardening and backyard chickens for a more productive flock and a more bountiful harvest, and cooking her coop-to-chicken recipes using fresh eggs from her coop and fresh produce from the garden. Oh, it sounds so good to me right now. She has appeared on numerous local and national radio and television programs, including the Hallmark Home and Family Show, NPR, Bill Green's Maine, 207, and P. Allen Smith's Garden Home, and has been featured in various publications, including Country Living, Down East, Zest, and American Farmhouse Style magazines. And last summer, it made the front page of the Wall Street Journal, wow, as the go-to girl when it comes to backyard chicken keeping. That is impressive, Lisa. She's also authored 5 books. And she's the founder of Fresh Eggs Daily, which has nearly 500,000 monthly blog views, the Fresh Eggs Daily poultry product line, and a host of a new TV show, Welcome to My Farm, on News Center, Maine, Sundays at 11:30 a.m. You are one busy person. So to kick things off, Lisa, tell us about your career and how you got into it in the first place.
It really happened by accident. I did not plan any of this. I was living in Virginia. My husband was in the Navy, so I didn't really have a career. It's hard when you're in just random places for a couple of years. And we had bought a place kind of out in the country, and I was bored and wanted to get goats. Everybody was like homesteading. It was like the big thing, 2009. And he thought, goats wouldn't be all that fun and suggested chickens. And we started raising chickens, and it just kind of evolved. My grandparents had chickens. I had chickens as a kid. So when I started my Facebook page and started posting my pictures, people started asking questions, and I realized that I knew more than I thought I had just from absorbing it, from growing up with it. And I started answering questions, and it just went Facebook page, blog, books, the whole thing. So I'm thrilled because I love what I do, but I definitely did not day one plan this whole progression.
Well, if you had it to do over again, would you do anything differently?
I don't think I would. I firmly believe that, well, number one, things happen for a reason. And number two, we all learn from our mistakes. It sounds so cliche, but I think you have to make mistakes in order to learn from them. And I think as long as you don't keep making the same mistakes over and over again, I think you kind of have to go the way that life takes you. I think you end up where you belong. I think you can try to fight it, but you're going to end up where you belong anyway in the long run.
I think that's a really good philosophy, and especially in light of the recent college admissions scandal. I think students kind of end up where they belong at college too, and as long as they make the most of whatever school they're at, it doesn't matter whether they're at an Ivy League or not. But anyway, that's a whole different
other
topic.
story.
We could have a whole podcast about that.
Just kind of to finish that thought, I have a degree in accounting and business management, and most people I know are not actually doing what their degree was. So just because you get a degree in something doesn't mean that you're pigeonholed into that career for the rest of your life.
No, I think what you've done has been extremely creative and ambitious too. I admire you for taking it to the level that you have. It's really remarkable. So, Lisa, can you give me an example of how PR and social media have helped to advance you personally, your organization, or a client?
It's funny because I do write books, and I think often I don't even know how people sold books before social media. Like, how did people even know who had written what and what to buy? And it boggles my mind because, by far, most books I sell are through Amazon, and people know that they're there because of my social media. So, I grew up, before social media, but I don't recall knowing, which new books were out or if an author had a new book out. I think it's just become so easy in a way to market things because you can just throw a tweet up and you can reach, however many people, whereas how many people would have to walk into a bookstore and randomly pick up your book in the past?
That's right. Exactly. Well, it's funny because back in the day, I guess they read the newspaper.
I guess.
And, since I'm friends with quite a few newspaper people, I hope that people are still reading the newspaper now. But can you give me an example of how social media, PR, and advertising have helped to advance you personally or your company?
That pretty much is how I got where I am, is by first building a huge Facebook audience. I have almost 700,000 fans, and it was them and they, them interacting with me and telling their friends, and that's how I got the attention of the publisher for my first book. And I don't think, like I said, I don't even know how people wrote books before.
Yeah.
It's a great way to reach people, is all I have to say. I don't even know. I have over 1,000 personal Facebook friends. I don't even think in real life I know 1,000 people. So it's just on such a much larger scale than our own lives are.
Right. Well, I think one of the things that I love about your brand is you have really built a brand community. Mm-hmm. And one of my theories about branding is building a cult of raving fans, or a nation, or a tribe, or whatever you want to call it. It's kind of like McDonald's has a huge brand, and on the golden arches it will say billions and billions served. And there's a reason that they have such a big brand. There's billions of people who know, like, and trust the McDonald's hamburgers. So you've done that with chickens.
And I think that's where my business background came in handy, because I noticed early on that, I would see someone on TV or, find them on Facebook, and then it was impossible to find them on other platforms because they weren't consistent. So they would be like Julie's Garden on Facebook, and then, Julie, the garden maven on Twitter, and then something else. And from the beginning, I've been Fresh Eggs Daily on all platforms, and I've had the same logo and the same look. And I think that consistency. So someone, is on Facebook and they follow me, and then they randomly go onto Twitter and they run across something, they know immediately it's me, and there's no question. And I think a lot of people don't understand branding and how important it is to be consistent like that.
No, they don't. But I think obviously you have you have mastered that and built your personal brand around your company brand. So I admire you for that too. So what are some of the obstacles to success in your career, and how have you overcome them?
So definitely the haters. I actually have a hate group that is devoted to me that's called Rotten Eggs Daily. And it's been for about 5 years now. And when I first found out about it, it's a competitor who, money gets involved in sponsors and women, and you start to get a little nastiness. So she set up this hate group. And at first, I would cry. My poor husband, because, men don't like drama and all that. And I was so upset, and it was really horrible to work through it. But P. Allen Smith, who people know from PBS and his gardening, I was on his show a few years ago, and I told him it was right when this was happening. And he said to me, first of all, you've made it when you have haters, because people don't bother hating someone who's not successful, number one. Number two, the worst thing that anyone wants is for people to be ambivalent about them. Like you said about McDonald's. People love McDonald's. A lot of people also hate McDonald's. People love Starbucks. People hate Starbucks. He said, in order to be successful, you have to have people who love you, and there are going to be those that hate you. And over the years, I've learned to just pity these people. Anyone who's dealing with bullies or haters or trolls, they are not happy people in their life. Happy people do not go around making other people feel inadequate or whatever. And pity really is what I feel for them now. And it honestly doesn't bother me anymore. And it's almost like a badge of honor that I actually have a hate group that devotes their life to just ripping apart anything I do or say or wear or look like or whatever.
Yeah. And I think you're probably pretty busy with your brand building. Can you imagine having enough time in your day to I know for me personally, yes. I have so much going on building the brand of the PR Maven and Marshall Communications. And if I tried to take time out of my day for hating on somebody else's brand,
and it's got to be so draining. I can't, the amount of energy that and I just look at this other woman and think to myself, maybe you would be a little more successful if you would concentrate on building your own brand instead of trying to tear down mine. You're never going to be successful doing it that way. And then again, there's only 800 members, and my husband said, you have 700,000 that love you. So 800 people don't like you. It's not really a big deal. But it was hard at first. It was really, really hard at first.
Yeah. And I don't think that all those 700 don't like you. They're just enjoying the snarkiness. But anyway,
exactly.
Let's not give them even any more airtime. So I think we should talk about Fresh Eggs Daily, because I like fresh eggs daily. So we're going to just take a short break now and continue with more with Lisa. But now it's time for our book and Things to Do Today Pad giveaway. So to win a copy of my book, PR Works, and a PR Maven Nation Things to Do pad, go to prmaven.com/giveaway. I gave Lisa one, and I think she's already planning what she's going to write down on it. Some people write stuff down even after they've done it just to have the pleasure of checking
I do that. I do something and I write it on my to-do list and cross it off.
Yeah, that's an OCD kind of thing. I hate to say it. So you could be our next winner, and we're going to be back in just a moment after we hear about the Marshall Plan.
Hey, PR Maven Nation, Greg here from Marshall Communications. I want to talk about your marketing strategy. Some days, do you feel like you're a hamster running in a wheel? Perhaps you're running the same ad in the same publication because that's the way you've always done it. Or do you not know how many media impressions you got from that news story last month? Do you sometimes feel like you're doing a lot of work but not seeing the results? Well, the good news is you're not a hamster. And if you're feeling like your marketing plan could be better, we'd love to help. At Marshall Communications, we worked with a wide range of businesses and organizations to create a customized marketing strategy known as the Marshall Plan. During a period of 3 months, we meet with you and your top stakeholders to learn about your world, what keeps you up at night, and best of all, the ways we can work together to combine your knowledge and our marketing and public relations experience to avoid the feeling of spinning in a wheel, and create a 3-year marketing plan that provides you with a vision for success. The Marshall Plan is a fully customized document using our 65 proprietary steps and leads to a playbook for your success. And trust me, it feels so much better than running around in a wheel. Now's a great time for you to grow your business, increase your profits, and most importantly, measure your results. If you think your business or organization would be a candidate for a Marshall Plan, you can take our Marshall Plan quiz to find out. Visit marshallpr.com/quiz. And if you'd like to schedule a free consultation about a Marshall Plan, visit marshallpr.com/consult or call us at 207-623-4177. Be sure to mention the code PODCAST for your free gift.
So welcome back. And today we're talking with Lisa Steele, founder of Fresh Eggs Daily. And I want to dive right back in with more questions. So Lisa, how do you measure success in your PR, social media, and marketing?
That's really interesting because the metric that most people use, obviously, is number of shares, number of followers, number of page views, number of whatever. But I mean, ultimately, what I'm doing, I'm supporting my family with what I'm doing. So if it's not resulting in sales, sales of my book or my products or something, then business-wise, then I'm not successful. If I have 1 million followers, but nobody's buying anything, then what am I doing? It's not a hobby. But on a more personal level, I think that success is when I do an event or, do a book signing and people show up and, they talk about how, their son loves his chickens and he loves my book. And you hear these personal stories that you're actually making a difference. And I mean, it's corny because it's chickens. So you're not curing cancer, but you're making a difference in people's lives. And they feel like they know me even before they meet me, which is, I don't know, just
heartwarming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you may not be curing cancer, but there may be people who are dealing with cancer or other hardships in their life. And if they discover chickens.
And it makes their life happier.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what's better than Fresh Eggs Daily?
Right.
I mean, really. So that is a great trade name. So most successful people have a network of fans and followers, either online or in person or both. How have you built your network of fans and followers, and has it been a conscious goal or has it happened on its own?
It wasn't conscious. I mean, at first, like I said, I didn't have a plan and I didn't plan to turn this into a business or anything. But as people started following me and we started chatting and getting to know each other virtually, and then I started doing events, whether it was a book signing or a feed store event or something like that. And as we were talking earlier, I really am a huge introvert. So for a long time, I didn't do any personal events. Part of the reason I write is because I'm comfortable at home by myself and all that behind the screen. But I realized that the events are really important because face-to-face, like you were saying with the telephone, face-to-face has just gone by the wayside. So when you do meet somebody in person, every person I meet is going to be a lifelong fan. Me over another chicken blog or another because they've actually met me in person. So I do a lot of traveling now and I do a lot of events because every person I can make a personal connection with, they're going to tell their friends. We take pictures. They say, I've actually met her. It makes a huge difference. And you have such a leg up really on your competition because you are making that personal connection. Same with other brands that I work with. I've worked with some people for almost 10 years. I've never met them. Some of them I've never even talked on the phone with. It's been all email. For almost 10 years. That's crazy.
Well, I'm just sitting here just so happy that you're saying this because the whole premise and the whole theme of this podcast is that you need to combine that face-to-face relationship building with social media. And it's both. You can't just do one without the other. And anybody who might be a little bit older in this, and they say, oh, I can't deal with any of that social media stuff. Well, you're kind of just checking out of life. I don't think you might not have to do every social media platform, but you need to engage in some way or else you're missing out on a lot of life. But you can't not do face-to-face either. And one thing that worries me is with when kids think they have all these friends online, but if they haven't ever seen them, they aren't your friends until you've done something with them. So, and there actually are chemicals that are transmitted between two humans. That's one of the things that I like about sitting here face-to-face with you. It's so much better than if you had just called in and we hadn't actually met each other, because then we wouldn't have any of those happy hormones, oxytocin, serotonin. Those are hormones that actually transmit between two humans in the same space. And so that is the platform of the PR Maven podcast.
I did not realize that. I probably should have known that.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's very true. And I do feel differently about the companies that I work with when I've actually met them. It's very different than just the email or the phone thing. So yeah, it's important. The platforms thing too. I know a lot of people who just, I don't like Instagram, so I'm not going to be on that, or I don't like Twitter. If you're a business, you need to at least have a presence on all of them. As soon as a new platform starts up, like that MeWe, I don't know, I immediately go and grab my name, because the last thing I want is for someone else to grab it. I might never do anything on that platform, but I want to be there, because if Facebook goes under and MeWe is the next best thing, I need to be there. I don't do a lot on Twitter, but I'm there. I have followers. I post things occasionally. Like, I focus mostly on Instagram now, even though I have a huge Facebook following. But Facebook is just kind of, it's like breathing fumes right now. And everybody is all about Instagram. So that's where I'm focusing my time.
Yeah. Well, you're very smart. And that's good advice about MeWe and other new platforms. And also to grab your URL, like yourname.com.
On any platform I hear of. I mean, there was one, and it actually already went under. It was kind of I think it was like a YouTube kind of thing where you could do like two people, like you could do podcasts on it.
Oh, yeah.
And I went on that and grabbed it immediately, but then it folded. But I was like, no harm done. It's not like it costs me anything.
Right.
So you definitely at least have to grab it. I mean, even Snapchat, I'm on Snapchat. I got my little thing and I found my outfit, and that's about as far as I got. Yeah. But I'm there.
Oh, you have your Bitmoji.
I do, and she's all dressed. I like her outfit.
Yeah. Well, I have my Bitmoji like right here in the studio with us. So, is in your line of work, is there a resource such as a book, a website, an app that you have found helpful, and why?
Actually, one of the reasons that I do what I do is because when I first started out, there wasn't a lot of information about raising chickens naturally and all that. So I went way far back to like old, reference books and that. And that's why I started writing books, because I thought the information needed to be out there because it wasn't out there. I don't tend to follow other chicken keeping blogs or websites or that. I follow, cooking blogs or crafts or just ones that I'm kind of inspired by. Like, I like their design or how they do things. And I feel like I learn from people in other niches almost more than those in my own, because I'm kind of looking at fresh ideas. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, totally makes sense. You get inspired. You get out of your own box.
Right. And I either figure out a way to adapt things for chickens, or it just is something that's universal. But I think if you just stay within your own community, you just keep going around in circles, so I kind of branch out and just learn a lot from different sources.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's working for you, and I'm very impressed.
Just as a side note, my chicken, those little dot drawings they do for the Wall Street Journal?
Yeah.
My chicken got one, and she was the first chicken to get a little dot drawing, which I thought was really cool.
Awesome.
I was like, you're not going to do me, you're going to do my chicken? Okay.
Yeah. What was the date of that in case people want to Google it?
Darn. It was summer. It might have been like last summer.
We'll actually put it in the show
Okay,
notes,
I can find that.
Okay, yeah. We'll definitely put
I have the link to it on my website.
We'll
yeah,
put a link to it in the show notes. So.
It must have been a slow news week is all I have to say.
No.
It was summer, people were on vacation.
It's one of those quirky things. And I know you're a big believer in publicity and the power of media relations. That's an example that if you get a big PR placement like that, it's going to give you the legitimacy that, again, others don't have. So kudos to you.
And it did lead to immediately afterwards a few other opportunities. So, I mean, any little, as an aside, my book was featured on The View last summer as one of the summer reads. So I was like, oh, of all things, The View, because it's so controversial. That's like a lose-lose. Like you're going to lose half your following no matter what. And I had people like sending me, hate mail saying, how could you, associate with a show like that? It's so bitter and negative. And I was like, A, I didn't know my book was going to be on it. And B, I mean, I'll take money from Republicans and Democrats equally. Like I am promoting my book. Like everyone should raise chickens. It's not political.
Exactly.
And you can't look at one news source or another as that's not what you're doing. Like if your brand isn't political, then you just need to be open to every opportunity.
Exactly. It wasn't paid advertising.
No, it wasn't. I didn't even know until my publisher said they contacted me and everyone in the audience is getting a copy. And I was like, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I believe it is awesome. So good for you. What would be your one piece of advice for someone starting their career?
You can't force it. You have to do something you're passionate about. I have seen over the years a lot of people jump onto a bandwagon, whether it's chicken keeping or homesteading or whatever it is that they think is the new hot thing that everybody wants to blog about and read about. And they think they're going to make, quick money by jumping into this. And if you're not passionate about it, I mean, it's hard work. I work more hours now than I ever did in a cubicle. And if you don't love what you do, you're going to burn out. Your audience is going to notice it. One of the comments I get most often from people is that I seem very genuine and very passionate. And you can't fake that. It just comes naturally and it makes your job easier. So you just have to pick something you're passionate about or it's not going to work.
Well, I could so relate to that because since starting this PR Maven podcast, I feel so energized and I feel like it's bringing together everything that I was born to do and everything that in my career has led up to this. And I just love having these conversations with people kind of centered around PR, but so many other aspects of the conversation enter in. And so I feel the same.
And see, I can sense that from you because I've done a lot of interviews and sometimes they're so flat because I just feel like the interviewer isn't invested in the whole thing as much. But you clearly are. So it makes it a lot easier.
Well, I'm having a ball. And it's my job. So
right?
Yay, I won the lottery.
Well, wasn't it Samuel Adams or the Sam Adams beer that says if you love what you do, you'll never work another day in your life? And that is such a cliche, but it's 100% true.
Exactly. Or find something you love and then get someone to pay you to do it.
Yep.
So is there a parting thought you'd like to share with PR Maven Nation today?
I know you gave me the questions in advance and I probably should have studied them a little bit better.
Okay.
But I don't think there's one thing to sum it up, but I think just that if you are building a brand, you have to build a brand and make it cohesive and everything you do has to be you have to have a vision and everything that you do has to kind of funnel into that vision or you're going to be all over the place because once you start getting successful, you're going to get offers from all over the place and you have to really narrow it down to things that make sense for you and your brand and your family and your lifestyle and that whole thing. I mean, don't sell out. I think it's easy to sell out in this world.
Yeah, it's very easy to sell out.
So you have to keep your integrity but
you also sometimes have to monetize things and I think you have figured out to do that.
Right.
Yeah,
well, exactly,
because
we do have to pay our bills. So,
yeah, exactly.
Much as I would love to just give free information and advice and entertainment.
Have to feed those chickens.
Right, exactly. Got to feed the chickens.
So my final question is to help PR Maven Nation connect with you. What are some of the best ways they can get in touch with you or follow you or see your content?
So as I mentioned earlier, since everything is at Fresh Eggs Daily, you can basically go on any platform and just look for Fresh Eggs Daily, fresheggsdaily.com. My email, fresheggsdaily@gmail.com. I'm pretty consistent there. So I even have fans who, when they go to Google, whatever question is they're asking, they just put Fresh Eggs Daily on the end of it just to make sure that my content comes up, which I think is pretty cool.
That is totally cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And I'm sure that, the Google, I always say the Google is like Santa Claus. They know everything. So I'm sure Google knows Fresh Eggs Daily.
They do. They've been pretty kind to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you've been kind back. So they know. It's like Santa Claus. They know if you've been naughty or nice.
True. Very true.
So that wraps up our conversation today with Lisa Steele from Fresh Eggs Daily. And she actually had seen me in the March issue of Down East magazine. And there was an article about me with a description of the PR Maven podcast. And I'm so glad Lisa reached out because I didn't know her before, but I like knowing all the notable people, especially in my home state of Maine. So thanks for joining me today, Lisa. And I want to thank everybody from PR Maven Nation for listening in. And if anyone in PR Maven Nation wants to give me any feedback or suggest a guest, please email me at nancy@prmaven.com. And I do read every single email that I receive. This podcast is presented by Marshall Communications, the creator of the 65-step Marshall Plan strategic process. And to learn more about the Marshall Plan, visit marshallpr.com. And check out our Marshall Communications webinar series also. For a full schedule of our free webinars, go to marshallpr.com/webinars. And I want to thank you again for tuning in to the PR Maven podcast. And please subscribe to the podcast at prmaven.com/podcast or on your favorite podcast player. And I'd like to ask you, please, to rate and review and share, because that's really what keeps us going at the podcast. And I want to also thank Hudson University and the New England School of Communications for hosting me today. It's been just such a pleasure to be here in this very advanced technological facility with very nice people. So that's part of the premise of the podcast, is to combine old-fashioned relationships with all the new technology available. So have a great week, PR Maven Nation.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the PR Maven podcast. For show notes, links, and guest contact information, visit prmaven.com. If you'd like to connect with Nancy and the rest of PR Maven Nation, be sure to find our group on Facebook. We encourage you to subscribe to the podcast and share our content to bring on great guests with more information. Plus, you can also connect with your target audience, build your network, and build your brand.